Welcome to Whiskey Gaming, and this is my light review of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. I played on the PC via Steam. It's coming to the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch. So the game takes place in a cyberpunk futuristic city. You play as Foe. You are a graffiti writer. You and a dude named Trice are locked up and, well, Trice helps you break out. But during your breakout, you get decapitated, so they put a cyber head on you. You agree to help Trice and his Bomb Rush crew get all city. That means you've got to help him take down the other graffiti crews in the city. But then you've got to worry about the cops and their new system, and there's some other seedy goings on. And I gotta say, the story was actually far more compelling than I was expecting from this game. I actually really enjoyed the twists and turns along the way. I thought it was, like I said, just so much better than you would expect jumping into a game like this, which honestly makes me happy. Now, as for the audio, the first thing I'm going to say is this game is very clearly inspired by or meant to be a spiritual successor to Jet Set/Grind Radio. And because of the disturbingly close similarities, it's really hard not to sit there and go, but your predecessor had a better soundtrack, which it did. That being said, I do think the soundtrack works well for this game, but a lot of the songs can get very repetitive. You only get 1 or 2 songs per level, and you'll spend a lot of time in each level, so you get to hear them on repeat just a little too much, which isn't exactly helpful when some of the songs are already very repetitive in their own nature. As for the voiceover work, there really isn't a lot. You'll get occasional phrases, but you'll mostly be reading text. As for the sound effects, they're good. They are very good. They very much work. I didn't have any complaints with the sound effects themselves. I do have complaints with the fact that there are times where there should be sound effects and there just aren't. Now let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and as I mentioned, this is the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. But I think they really cleaned up a lot of the gameplay. They did make some changes that I don't think were entirely necessary, but I do think still worked. How do you describe the game? Well, you go around on rollerblades, a skateboard, or BMX, and you spray paint the town. But in this game, you do tricks, and the tricks actually matter. They utilize the tricks so much more than they did in Jet Set Radio. Tricks were fun, they were cool, but now you actually have objectives in these areas that are based on, putting together combos, outscoring your opponents. In fact, the final battle with each crew is, outscoring your opponent in a specific area. But you also have to go around and do graffiti, and one thing that I thought was awesome is you get full access to all of the graffiti you collect throughout the game. Each of them has their own pattern that you draw with either your thumbstick or your mouse once you trigger the graffiti. So that's how you get to do so many, is because they all have their own little patterns based on the size of the graffiti, ranging from small to extra large. But you also can switch characters if you want to play as different characters, although it all does focus around the main character of Red. So in the cutscenes, in the beginning of battles, you will be switched over to him, but you can go and switch to the other characters, which happens on basically a dance floor, which I thought was just kind of fun and very much fits with the vibe of what they're going for, because it's about dance, it's about graffiti, it's about riding around rollerblading is not really an extreme sport anymore, but extreme sports. And I gotta say, with the added objectives and the going around and graffitiing to unlock objectives to compete against other crews, as well as actually making the tricks and scoring really matter, and the level of exploration there is to unlock new bikes, skateboards, clothing, and graffitis, I think was just really awesome. Oh man, and I nearly forgot to talk about the fact that you can take off your skates or get off your skateboard or BMX or whatever and walk around, which is also how you jet boost around. But really, the jet boosting, while it's a great movement mechanic, the walking around just makes such a huge difference at times. When you're really looking to make a much more precise movement and aim yourself, oh my gosh, it just makes all the difference in the world. Because again, spiritual successor, I just remember having to deal with always being on skates and really struggling to position yourself correctly because you're rolling around. Whereas in this, you could just get off your mode of transportation, position yourself, get back on and do what you need to do or whatever it is. But the ability to walk is just amazing, and it really helps this game just be so much more than just a spiritual successor. It is in fact an improvement because of something like that. Then let's get into the controls, and this is the biggest improvement over the game that it is the spiritual successor to. The level of camera control, the accuracy in your movement, the responsiveness of the controls just bring everything up. They make it all just so much better. The controls work extremely well. I didn't have any complaints with how they functioned or worked with the mechanics. I think they did a phenomenal job. Then you've got the graphics and visuals, and this is a beautiful, bright, colorful, cel-shaded game. And one thing I've always loved about cel-shaded games is that art style holds up, and the visuals tend to hold up better. I think they did a really awesome job designing each of the characters and giving them their own unique style. I think they did an amazing job with each of the characters fitting them in this cyberpunk aesthetic. But normally you think cyberpunk, dark and gritty. This is not dark and gritty. It's bright and vibrant. Each of the different areas you go to in the city have their own unique design, and they have their own unique color almost, which I really appreciated, and I just thought that they did an amazing job with that. I loved the animation for the tricks that you do. I think they did an awesome job bringing these different tricks to life. Yes, they're kind of limited, but with all the other fun action going on, you don't really notice that. And I love all the effects for when you're skating, when you're grinding, when you're doing graffiti. But then let's also talk about the graffiti, because that's part of the heart of this game, and I think they did an amazing job with that. I didn't necessarily love all of the pieces, but oh man, some of it was just phenomenal. I would love to see more of that in real life. I think they just did a great job representing graffiti as an art form. I would really love to see more of that in other games. There's a couple of games I would love to see some remasters of to bring those visuals back to life. Overall, I really just loved the way this game looked. The cartoon aesthetic's gonna hold up for a long time. Some of the animations could have been a bit better, but this isn't a AAA team, and what they did was awesome. My last thing, it's a pretty major complaint that I ran into. I lost an entire night's worth of gameplay. I had just beaten the final crew. I was getting on to the very end of the game. I decided to wrap it up for the night. I was gonna finish it the following night. The game didn't shut down correctly, I guess. It took longer than normal, and then when I booted up the following night, I found out that I had lost all that night's work. So a crash like that is really upsetting, and honestly, if I didn't enjoy playing this game as much as I did, and it wasn't as good as it is, that would have been like a death blow to this game. But leading into the wrap-up, I clearly enjoyed this game. The fact that that didn't destroy the game for me and make me just rage quit, that tells you how much I was enjoying playing this game and the experience as a whole. So apart from some complaints, I think it's an amazing game. I really enjoyed it. I think it's fully worth the price. I would love for these guys to get to do like a remaster of Jet Set Radio, because they could really just bring that into the modern era so very well. Even if they don't do that, I want to see what these guys do next. I really enjoyed the game. I fully recommend it. Okay, in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, did you play Jet Set Radio, and what did you play it on? I played it on the Dreamcast originally. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one. Shit, that's not right. Which means they take down the other... Oh my god, I can't words today.